The throne room of Calvarian Prime stretched wider than a starship hangar. Crystalline pillars rose toward a ceiling that displayed the swirling nebulas of 3 adjacent galaxies. Representatives from 47 stellar nations had gathered, each presenting their finest warriors, scholars, and nobles. They had come for one reason. Princess Vara, heir to the Calvarian Empire, had reached her choosing year. The princess sat upon a floating dais that shifted with gentle blue light. Her skin held the characteristic violet hue of her people, and the ceremonial crown of living metal that curved across her brow marked her status. 4 eyes, arranged symmetrically on her elegant face, surveyed the assembled suitors with an expression that revealed nothing. Ambassador Kane stood at the back of the chamber among the human delegation. He wore the standard diplomatic uniform of Earth's collective, simple gray with minimal adornments. Unlike the other humans in attendance, he had not come as a suitor. His job was merely to observe, to report back on this significant political event, and to ensure humanity maintained proper protocols with the most powerful empire in the known galaxy. The ceremony had been underway for 3 hours. One by one, suitors approached the dais. Each brought gifts of impossible value. Each delivered speeches crafted by the finest poets their worlds could offer. Each demonstrated some remarkable ability, meant to prove their worthiness. The Draconite prince arrived in armor that seemed forged from captured starlight. He proclaimed his victories in 17 campaigns and offered the princess command of his fleet of 500 warships. Princess Vara listened without expression, then gestured dismissal with one slender hand. A hive-mind collective sent forward their most perfect specimen, connected to 10 million minds across their network. The individual promised the princess access to the combined knowledge and resources of their entire civilization. Vara's expression never changed. She gestured dismissal. The pattern continued. A merchant lord from the trade rings offered wealth that could purchase solar systems. A philosopher king from the academic worlds presented proofs of mathematical theorems that could revolutionize faster-than-light travel. A warrior champion from the blood clans demonstrated combat techniques that made him blur with speed. All were dismissed. Kane watched with growing fascination. The princess was not merely rejecting suitors. She seemed to be searching for something specific, something none of them possessed, despite their grandeur. Her 4 eyes would focus on each candidate, study them for perhaps 30 seconds, and then she would know. The gesture of dismissal would follow, elegant and final. "She's going to reject them all," whispered Harris, the senior human diplomat standing beside Kane. 300 years of alliance negotiations, and the princess will choose no one. The council will be furious. Kane said nothing. He had learned long ago that observation yielded more than speculation. A suitor from the crystalline depths approached. His body was composed entirely of living mineral, refracting light into rainbow patterns across the floor. He sang a courtship melody that resonated through the chamber at frequencies that made the air itself visible. The song was reportedly composed over 6 decades and contained emotional complexities that only his species could fully appreciate. Princess Vera listened to every note. When the final harmonic faded, she gestured dismissal. The ceremony continued. Suitors grew more desperate, their presentations more elaborate. One candidate arrived suspended in a sphere of contained plasma. Another had temporarily bonded with a juvenile star beast to demonstrate his connection to cosmic forces. A third had brought a delegation of 50 who performed a synchronized display of telekinetic power that rearranged the molecular structure of the air into geometric artworks. All dismissed. Kane found his attention drifting from the spectacles to the princess herself. There was something in the way she observed each candidate. She was not looking at their gifts or their abilities. She was looking at them, at something deeper than the performances they offered. Each time, whatever she sought was not there. The crowd was growing restless. Whispers spread through the chamber. This choosing ceremony had lasted longer than any in recorded Calvarian history. Some delegations were beginning to take the rejections personally. Cain could sense the political tensions, building like pressure before a star went nova dot. Then something unexpected happened. Princess Vara stood from her dais. The room fell immediately silent. In 300 years of recorded choosing ceremonies, no princess had ever left the dais before making a selection. 4 palace guards moved to accompany her, but she waved them back. She descended the steps of light that materialized beneath her feet. The assembled suitors parted as she moved through their ranks. She walked past the Draconite prince, past the hive-mind specimen, past the merchant lord and the philosopher king and the warrior champion. She walked past beings of pure energy and beings of condensed matter, past telepaths and technomancers and evolutionary perfections. She walked directly toward the human delegation. Harris stiffened. The other human diplomats exchanged panicked glances. They had brought no suitor. They had assumed, correctly according to protocol, that Earth was too young a civilization, too small a presence in galactic politics, to presume such an honor. Cain remained still as the princess approached. He met her 4-eyed gaze calmly, his hands clasped behind his back in parade rest. He had faced down pirate fleets and negotiated with warlords. He would not falter before royalty, regardless of the shock coursing through him. Princess Vara stopped 3 paces from him. The entire chamber held its breath. "You," she said, her voice carrying easily despite speaking barely above a whisper. "What is your name?" "Ambassador Cain of Earth, Your Highness." "You are not a suitor." "No, Your Highness. I am merely an observer. Why do you not seek to impress me?" Cain considered the question carefully. The fate of Earth's diplomatic relations might rest on his answer. He chose honesty. "Because I am not here to impress you, Your Highness. I am here to understand this ceremony, to witness this moment in your culture, and to report truthfully what I observe. My purpose is not about me." Something changed in Princess Vara's expression. For the first time that day, something like interest flickered across her features. All of them, she gestured to the assembled suitors, came to demonstrate their worthiness. They brought armies and wealth and knowledge. They showed me their strength, their power, their accomplishments. She took a step closer. "But you brought nothing. I have nothing worthy of offering a princess, Your Highness." "Precisely." She tilted her head, studying him. "Tell me, Ambassador Cain, what do you see when you look at me?" The question felt like a test. Cain met her gaze and answered truthfully. "I see someone performing a duty she does not desire. I see someone searching for something real in a ceremony of hollow performances. I see someone who is incredibly alone despite being surrounded by thousands." The silence in the chamber was absolute. Princess Vara smiled. It was a small expression, barely a curve of her lips, but it transformed her face. "For 300 years, she said, loud enough now for all to hear, the choosing ceremony has followed the same pattern. Suitors come to prove themselves worthy of a princess. They demonstrate power, wealth, ability. They perform like actors on a stage." She turned to address the entire chamber. "But a choosing is not meant to be a competition. It is meant to be a connection." She turned back to Cain. "Every suitor today looked at me and saw a prize to be won, a political alliance to be secured, a stepping stone to greater power." Her 4 eyes held his. "You looked at me and saw a person. You saw me." Cain felt the weight of 1,000 gazes on his back. This was not how he had imagined this day unfolding. "Your Highness, I must confess that I am entirely unprepared for this honor. I have no gifts. I made no preparations. I am not—" "You are honest," Vara interrupted. You are perceptive. You came here with no agenda beyond understanding. In a room full of those seeking to impress me, you alone had no need to prove anything. She extended her hand, palm up, in the traditional Calvarian gesture of choosing. That is precisely what I have been searching for. Cain looked at her extended hand. Behind him, he could hear Harris making a strangled sound. Accepting would mean binding Earth to the Calvarian Empire in ways that would reshape human civilization. Refusing would insult the most powerful being in 47 stellar nations. But that was not what made him pause. He looked at Princess Vara, really looked at her, and saw not a political calculation, but a person making an honest choice. She was not selecting him for diplomatic advantage. She had simply found, in a room full of performances, someone who had treated her like a living being rather than an objective. Cain took her hand. The chamber erupted. Gasps, shouts, and the electronic equivalent of shocked exclamations in a dozen languages filled the space. The princess's guards moved forward, but Vara raised her free hand to stop them. "The choosing is made," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of imperial authority. "Ambassador Cain of Earth has been selected according to ancient custom and current law. Let all present bear witness." Cain found himself being guided forward, toward the dais, his hand still in hers. His mind raced through the implications, the political ramifications, the sheer impossibility of what was happening. But underneath all that, he felt something simpler. He had come here to observe a ceremony. Instead, he had somehow become part of a moment that would reshape galactic history. Not through strength or wealth or grand demonstrations, but through the simple act of seeing another being clearly as they ascended the steps of light together. Princess Vera leaned close enough to whisper, "I should warn you, Ambassador Cain, that the choosing is only the beginning. Now comes the truly challenging part." "And what is that, Your Highness?" She smiled again, wider this time, getting to know each other. Cain looked out at the assembled masses, at the shocked faces of Earth's delegation, at the stunned Suitors, and at the spinning galaxies displayed above. He thought of his quiet life as an observer, now irrevocably changed, and despite everything, he smiled back.